What's up, Steeler Nation? We are back for another great episode on the one and only The Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. I am Jay York Football. Alongside of me, Mic'd Up Sports One, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have released their 2025 schedule. And we're going to jump into it. First and foremost, always like to ask how my co-host Michael's doing. We got our guy Jimmy back in the studio holding it down. Really appreciate everything that you do for us. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. Obviously, a big week. We get to see when and where the Steelers will be going and playing, at what time. I think I'm seeing all these record predictions. You know, you got to make them. It's fun. It obviously is something that we're going to do until, kickoff on that opening Sunday against the Jets. But we don't even know who the quarterback is right now. They might sign another receiver. Who knows about contract situations on defense with, people like TJ Watt. So everybody out there, just hold your horses a little bit before betting the over or the under on sports books, and hold your horses before you say, hey, listen, this is my prediction. It's set in stone. Give yourself some flexibility. That's all only advice I have right now, JY.
That sounds like great advice. So, Jimmy, let's get to it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco. Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, a lot of question marks going into this season, and still, I know we're far from week one, but man, it's going to come fast, and the wheels need to get turning here. So Mason Rudolph, QB1. I'm just going to put this out there, and I know some other commentators and analysts already did. I on paper, and let me make sure you know when I'm saying this, on paper, this looks to be one of the worst Steelers rosters that I've seen under Mike Tomlin in his tenure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair. I don't know how you and others feel about Najee Harris, but losing him maybe could be more impactful than some think. I think rookie running back Caleb Johnson is going to have a very similar year, so I think the running back position is basically the same. Receiver, in my opinion, got better because I would have Metcalf over Pickens, even though the room overall still stinks, though. The room stinks. Like, you still got, the question mark of Roman Wilson. Calvin Austin's probably your number two. You signed Robert Woods, journeyman, who's doesn't have much left in the tank. He reminds me of Van Jefferson. We all saw how that worked out. But the obvious position is quarterback. I mean, we like Mason, but is there any way Mason gets his team to where they want to go, which is a couple of playoff wins, right? And fighting for contention at the end of the season? Probably not. But if you look at, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Mason Rudolph, no disrespect to Mason, I would still rather have Russ and Justin over him. And I think you probably feel the same way. Our producers are big Titans fans. A lot of people are forgetting how bad Mason was last year. I know it wasn't a great team, but there's a reason was signed for what, $5 million on a 1-year deal. Yeah. So I think as it stands, if Rodgers is the quarterback, it's probably like a 10-win team. If Mason is a quarterback, it's probably a 7-win team. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair, and a lot could happen, obviously. I think it's pretty much inevitable, even though this is just how Aaron Rodgers. So let's just jump into this schedule real quick. Now, do you think the NFL did this on purpose? Wink, wink. At the Jets, week 1, Justin Fields, Steelers, obviously connection there. And then week 2, the Seahawks, DK Metcalf. You're going to tell me and look me straight in the eye and tell me that the NFL did not do that on purpose. You'd be lying to me. So very interesting right off the bat. I still think that, and I know it's way too early. We're not going to do the wins and losses today, but just this is a tough looking at these the first 6 weeks. they have the bye week 5 and then Ireland. Patriots should be a win, maybe. But I honestly think the first 6 weeks are going to be tough. Kind of like not as bad as the end of the year when we face the Chiefs and the Ravens twice and that sort of thing. But the Jets are still the Jets. I'm not sold on that game. I think that's a winnable game. But again, it all depends on, we can speculate, but it all depends on who's at quarterback and what moves the Steelers are going to make. Sign another wide receiver definitely needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more nervous about the end of the schedule, just like last year. You got Buffalo, Baltimore twice, at Detroit in the last 6 games. Those are 4 really, really tough games that they'll be significant underdogs in, I would imagine. I do think the last 2 games, though, are more favorable. At Cleveland, I know they've struggled there recently, but that team should be like 4-12 at that point, or 4-11, I guess, calculating the games. And then Baltimore at home. And the Steelers obviously always do play them well, especially at home. So that's a lot better than, what was last year. They finished with the Bengals, and Ravens, but they played the Chiefs in that stretch, the Eagles in that stretch. And those obviously were the 2 teams in the Super Bowl. So it's still not as difficult as that. I think they should start 2-0, no matter who's the quarterback, to be honest with you. You know how I feel about Justin Fields, and I like him, but they'll be breaking in a new head coach and a new offensive and a new quarterback in Jets in week 1. Seattle coming to Pittsburgh. Yes, and the Jets. Seattle coming to Pittsburgh is another new quarterback, Sam Darnold, in a new system. And that West Coast to East Coast trip and 1:00 game, then playing a 10 a.m. game essentially, is that's not easy. So I think for them to have a chance to compete this year, they need to start 2-0. Especially before they get into those division games in the middle of the season. Cincinnati's going to be much better. Those are going to be tough games, man. Obviously, what Baltimore gives you every single time. But you need to start 2-0. At New England's tricky. Minnesota's good. Like I said, I'm hedging my bets with predictions right now, but you can kind of go through and get a feel for each game, even at this point, right? The good news is they don't have any point in time where they're playing like 4 games in 13 days like they did last year, or 3 games in 11 days, whatever it was, Thursday, Sunday, and Thursday or something like that. So, but how do you feel about a week 5 bye week? That seems early. It still seems like this is a team that could wear down later.
Well, you just know how important the bye weeks are, and the later you can have them in a season, kind of get that week to kind of not only, physically reset, but mentally, it's definitely needed. And we've had guys on here before. I remember Chris Wormley, when we did his show, he was really, really big on that bye week, especially defensive guy. I mean, any side of the ball, but defense especially. That recovery week really kind of helps you reset and just get ready for the second half of the season. So the deeper it is, having it that early isn't the best. It's like, honestly, the Steelers can't win. They get screwed all the time.
Literally,
games get flexed, and I understand, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, we could sit here and speculate. It's way too early. There's going to be so much, but I can honestly, inevitably, I mean, if I was to bet my next paycheck, I would say that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I just think that, he likes, this is how he operates. I think it's I honestly, and I hate to say this, but the best thing for the Steelers to do right now, and people are going to call me crazy, but I think that losing. I think because the 2026 draft class at QB, that's where you want to be. The higher you can pick and find that franchise guy. What is Aaron Rodgers going to do coming to this team? And, hey, he might win a playoff game or might get this. I would just roll with what you got, kind of figure out some of these guys. These people, Will Howard hasn't played a down of NFL football, and people are saying he's the franchise guy. It's just, you got to be realistic. I hope that he could be. I'm not saying it a 6th-round pick couldn't be. I mean, you look at someone like Brock Purdy, but I mean, I've watched film on Will Howard, and we've had, expert guys on here that covered the draft. He can't see the field that well. Really needs to work on a lot of things. And I'm sure that he can, but I just don't think that he's your guy that you want to build a future around. Could be a possible great backup quarterback to have, like you said. I think that is, but I don't think right now bringing in anyone free agent. I think honestly, you just stick with what you got and give Mason a chance. If he goes out and balls out, hey, no one deserves it more. But at this point, like, Steelers just really need to be realistic with themselves and stop trying to say, oh, we're a quarterback away from a Super Bowl, we're this and that. You're not. I mean, maybe I would love to be wrong, but I haven't been wrong in how many seasons we haven't won a playoff game. So if that's what you want to continue to do, great. But I would lose. I would tank. And I hate to say this, but I'm not going to come in here and give you some cookie cutter podcast. I'm going to tell it how I feel. And we've had so many guests on, so it's nice kind of to give our opinions on what's going on, and that's just mine. I'd be excited to watch a year where, it's up and down, but you could kind of fill out and see, who these guys are going to step up for the future. I hate for that for Cam Hayward and TJ Watt because they're not getting any younger. But, hey, I mean, you had time to win the games, and it just didn't happen. So,
yeah, I mean, that's why I think there's a fundamental problem deep down with even starting Mason Rudolph, because we saw 2 years ago he played well towards the end of the season. He got the Steelers to the playoffs. That wouldn't be a full-on tank. Even with Mason Rudolph, you're going to get a mid-tier draft pick. Starting Will Howard could get you there, right? Like if Mason got hurt, or if, maybe the first couple of games you're like, hey, we want to see what we have with the kid, but secretly that you're going to lose more games, so you're going to win. And you kind of have an excuse to lose. I think that's the big part of this whole thing, is that the last couple of years, it's felt like there have been no excuses. You have Hayward and Watt, and you sign a veteran quarterback like Russell Wilson. You draft a first-round quarterback like Kenny Pickett. You can't make an excuse for losing when that happens. Yeah. But with Will Howard, if he enters the fold, week 4, week 5, plays okay, right? Maybe you lose 10 or 11 games, and it's a blessing in disguise. And instead of the fans saying Tomlin had a terrible season, the Steelers organization has no idea what they're doing, maybe the reaction is then, oh, they gave this kid a chance. They wanted to see what he had prior to entering the next season, where it's a great draft class. And maybe he comes out and plays well. Who knows, right? And in that case, you look like geniuses as well. So it's kind of a bit of a hedge of your bets there. I don't know. I want to bring this up. I was just thinking about this as well. A lot of people were speculating if Rodgers was waiting to sign with the Steelers before the schedule release because he doesn't want all these primetime games. He doesn't want to play on Christmas. He doesn't want to play on Thanksgiving. And he thinks that could have been a possibility, which it could have. I was wondering today if the Rooneys and the Steelers know he is already signing, but the Rooneys said to Aaron, hey, let's wait until after the schedule release, because they were pissed last season when they had to play on Christmas, when they had to play the next, Thursday after, the Thursday before, whatever it was. Like I said before, 3 games in 10 days. The Rooneys were very, very unhappy about that. So maybe instead of Aaron, it was actually them that, kind of took a step back and said, hey, chill out till the schedule release, and then come sign the paperwork.
I mean, maybe. Like, we'll never know what goes on behind closed doors, but I mean, it doesn't seem too far-fetched to believe that. It's just crazy. I just
somewhere off life smoking.
Would you?
Whatever. Does.
Would you agree that like these past 2 Steelers off seasons have been the most exhausting for people like us and fans? Just trying to figure out what is going on. We went into last year with the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson QB battle, and it's just like there's just been zero stability since Ben Roethlisberger left. Let's just, I mean, it took about, obviously the Kenny Pickett experiment, and after that, it's just been, it's, I mean, now I think that people appreciate having a Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. Everyone, I would have took an extra year of Big Ben at 70% health than what we've had at quarterback since then. I'll say that full-heartedly.
It's exhausting because of the word hope. That's why it's exhausting, because people had big hope for Kenny Pickett. people had big hopes. I did, at least, for Fields. I know you did for Wilson, and it was warranted. They were the team was 8-2, 8-3, or whatever it was. So that was warranted. But the last couple of years of Big Ben, it was more or less like, hey, thanks for the ride. These are your last moments. Let's appreciate it. Let's celebrate you. There wasn't like this renewed, Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl hope going into each season. It was more or less like, we get to watch Big Ben. Let's appreciate this. But the last 2 years, it's been, hey, Pickett had an insane preseason. He's going to start winning some games and hopefully give him a chance to win a Super Bowl. And then, hey, we went out and signed a veteran quarterback as well as a quarterback with a ton of talent. One of those guys is going to take the job and potentially win a playoff game. And neither happened, of course. So hope is the great divider here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, all we can do is wait. It's not like we're going to have another show where we actually break down and give our predictions and we'll put them on Twitter. And you guys can blast us for being right.
For being right. We're right last year. We're right the year before. Pencil it in, 10-7. What I tweet, just 10-7, 7-10. Pencil it in and move on with our lives.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, and we're going to continue next week to have a lot of these guys on. Really cool to tell. Just hear what it's like being in that building, being around, the Steelers facility, and just, one thing, we can sit here and critique the Steelers and give our opinions, but at the end of the day, everyone knows that this is one of the best sports organizations in all of sports and in the entire world. So we're very fortunate to be able to cover it and have all yins hang out with us. So make sure you subscribe. Any parting words before we leave? We'll be back next week with some more players and some great analytic breakdowns, I guess. Want to keep it up.
My parting words are breathe. It's one word. Everybody breathe.
I mean, you could use that. You could use that.
There's still time. There's still time for roster changes. There's still time for signing receiver, figuring out quarterback position. Let's not look at the schedule, call it 5-12, and then be pissed off for 3 months. Just breathe for now.
Sounds good. There you have it, Jimmy. Just breathe. Until next time, make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Jimmy?
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.